Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. I'm Karamjit Singh, and together with me is my colleague Dzof Azmi, and we're going to share with you some of the interesting stories we felt occurred in Malaysia's digital economy this week. We're going to start out with something that a government agency has formed a public-private partnership, and this is Technology Park Malaysia, which is of course under the leadership of Zulera Abu Bakar, and she was formerly the head of Magic, and hence Zulera has been running the show. And now this is one of the, actually probably the first announcement she has released, right? Which is this partnership with ScaleUp Malaysia. And if you've been following or reading about the tech ecosystem in Malaysia, ScaleUp Malaysia is one of the most dynamic and well-known venture accelerators, investors in the ecosystem here, run by a team of 6 very influential and very well-known and highly respected and knowledgeable, partners. And I won't name all of them, right? Just that was founded by Dr. Sivapalan and Renuka Sena. And now we'll just move on. So they're partnering together. Basically, they're bringing the resources of the public sector together with the private sector's market savviness, mentorship, relationships, and funding also. And I think just talking to some of the ecosystem players, they like this relationship, this partnership. But Dzof makes a very good point also. He says, Karam, how do we measure really whether it's just a lot of hot air or whether there'll be something meaningful coming out of it? Fantastic, Dzof. We're on the same.
I like the way I don't have to say a word, and that's what I was going to say.
We were talking before we started recording this, but look, what we're going to do is 6 months from now, we're going to come back and relook this this partnership to see what impact it has created, right? Very simple. We're not going to talk back and forth about what our expectations here. We're just going to say 6 months from now, we're going to come back and we're going to talk to ecosystem players, whether you feel that this collaboration has helped you as an entrepreneur to build your business or help smoothen the journey for you. And we're going to speak to both parties concerned also to see what difference they have made. So what do you think? Fair, right?
I mean, on the one hand, you're looking at the talents, that is the people that are involved in trying to do this. And you sort of go, well, yes, they can do things. There's capability there.
Yep.
And you're thinking that perhaps great things might come out of it. But then, like you said, you correctly said, my question would be that what is it going to look like? How much of this is hype and how much of it is going to be like real results? And this space, right, this thing of creating something from nothing almost, right, is this, that you're trying to get these Malaysian companies upwards and onwards. It's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. Which is why, the entire ecosystem has to come together. So when I was speaking about this on my Friday show, I said people cannot just lean back and say, oh, great, there's this partnership, right? So I'll just wait and sit back and wait for them to come and help me. No, everyone has to lean forward and step up, play your role, right? To help them help you. For unicorns also. So we'll see how that goes, but let's move on to another story because it's also related to the overall digital economy in Malaysia, which is that the board of Cyberview actually issued a press release to announce the departure of the CEO of one of their agencies that's under them, Futurize. The word Futurize, which means I just want to make sure that the ecosystem, right, is future ready, right, and future adaptable. And actually, Mahadhir Aziz is the CEO of that since 2018, and he's been trying to drive it forward. And really, when people say, what is Futurize? Futurize was actually responsible for the national regulatory sandbox also, right? To try to make sure that regulations was an enabler for innovation and not a hurdle, a wall, right? A speed bump. And I know Mahadhir had a tough time because, he was appointed in 2018 by the previous government, and this Futurize was in a way a baby of the previous Chief Secretary of Government, Irwan Serigar. And of course, he was a key player in the 1MDB situation also, although later on. And then, so it got tainted when the government changed in 2018, it got tainted that this is, Irwan's baby. And Mahadhir worked patiently, persistently, and with passion to convince the government of Pakatan Harapan that this was not one man's vanity play, that Futurize serves a real purpose, has got real value. Convince them, started working, doing his work, and what happened? The end of February 2020, Sheraton move happened, and there was a change of government again. And again, it took him time to convince the next government that there's value here, managed to convince them and started moving along. So in a short period of time, he had to deal with 3 governments, right? But he managed to convince all of them that there's value in Futurize. So that attests to his persistence and his ability to work with government, right? Work with multiple stakeholders, very important, because of course, Futurize also works with the private sector. And one of the key government ministries or agencies or units he works with was actually Ministry of Finance. And I think they like his persistence and how he's moving forward the agenda, despite the challenges he faced. And from what I understand, he's going to be the next CEO of MDEC next week. Is the biggest open secret in the tech ecosystem that he's going to be the next CEO. And I think even many months ago, the Ministry of Finance had already interviewed him and agreed and even gave him a letter of appointment, right, as the next CEO of MDEC. But apparently then the letter, the board of MDEC was told, look, we've appointed him as the CEO. You now please deal with the current CEO and ease the way for Mahadhir to come in. And that was what took so long, from probably, I think, May when that was happened. And now we're in August and September only he comes in. Because the MDEC board was trying to look for an elegant, and an honorable exit, right? With dignity for all parties concerned, which they finally achieved. So Surina has put in a resignation, Surina Shukri, he's going to come in. So it'll be interesting to see how he moves forward the agenda in MDEC. And I can tell you that a lot of people in the ecosystem are excited with him coming in, because I know I've written a commentary about this also, Dzof. And the one key highlight, the lesson to be learned from Surina's tenure is that you cannot bring in an outsider who does not know the ecosystem, right? So outsider meaning you don't have to be from within the government agency, but you have to be a player in the ecosystem. Somebody who knows all the players and he's known and he knows people, because then you cannot bring somebody as Surina from outside to come in and then give him or her like 5-6 months to get up to speed. I need to meet Bikesh, I need to meet Siva, I need to meet Haislik Low, right? I need to meet Kariku from Penang, I need to meet the Penang gang, right? You want to talk about Hawi Cheng from Forward School, then you want to talk about Chan Kisiak also. So many people. You're going to meet Ganesh, who's got a foot in Johor also, right? The ecosystem leader there. So many people. Who do you need? You need to be, and it takes time for you to build a relationship. Let's work together. And so we cannot afford that, because everyone has a sense that we're falling behind, and we're falling behind under Surina's tenure. So Mahadhir comes in, he's got to run. And like I said in my commentary, he's got to find an extra hour in the day. He has got to be putting in 25-hour days. And he's got a fantastic leadership team with him that, you can say that Surina and Rais, the MDEC chairman, have done the hard part about, giving him a clean slate to work with. And I think people shouldn't put too much weight into that. He needs to put in his own team. No, when Balisham and when Yasmin came in, right, they brought in their own people only after the contracts of the existing senior people were over, and they naturally wanted to bring in their own people. So there's no such thing as you've got like 10 people with new 3-year contracts, right, to say that I want you to leave. That's ridiculous. It won't happen. The other people will be leaving gradually. He can replace them. And the COO position is available. He can, if he wants to, convince the board that he needs a strong COO and let that happen. And everybody's just got to sprint, man. I shouldn't even say run, they got to sprint.
I mean,
I was talking too much there, but this makes me. And I'm concerned.
No, the thing is this, right? Because I think one of my first questions to you, Karam, was like, so actually, what has he done at Futurize, right? That was like one of my first things, and it's like it's not
much, but look, the Cyberview board was very happy with him. They say we're sad to see him go. If you read the press release, they say we're saddened to see him go. Grateful for his tireless efforts in starting and growing Futurize. So, he has actually helped to have, they were the first testbed for autonomous vehicle testing in Cyberjaya, the first drone testing space or so. And I think there was an annual report done, right? And you can actually download the annual report of what Futurize did, right, over the past 2 years. And you can see the kind of things he's done. I met up with him, and I was quite impressed with him working with some government agency people also, right? To work with, because the government ministries have got confidence in another government agency, and they will sit up and open up to you to say that we know we need to do something, but we don't know how. Can you help us? If a private sector person comes, they're going to be cynical and say, hey, man, he or she is trying to make money from us, and I'm not sure we want to do this. It'll benefit them. And Mahadhir was able to overcome that hurdle for them to work with them. So like I say, you've got a very strong relationship with government because, MDEC Digital Economy touches every agency out there, right? So he's got to work with multiple stakeholders, multiple government agencies. I think he will do well. And let's give him 1 year. We gave Surina 1 year to see what would happen, whether she could make a difference. So let's give him 1 year to hit the ground sprinting, not running. And then
I think he's got to take
month 13 onwards.
I mean, I sort of agree that I think he's got to take the problem by the scruff of the neck. I mean, I don't think, for example, he can use the excuse that the political landscape in Malaysia is so shaky and use it as an excuse. You have to find a way of making it work.
Absolutely.
I couldn't do that. I wouldn't even know where to begin to do something like that. But the hope is that someone like him.
He can, and he must. Let's move on to AirAsia, which is making quick time in trying to become, a super app. So, they're now getting into the e-hailing space and want to compete with Grab. Of course, Grab is the king of monsters, Godzilla. I just watched Godzilla King of Monsters one more time last night, right?
One more time. Wow. So maybe I should watch it.
I've got a very poor memory when it comes to movies, so I can watch a movie again after a year and it's like watching it for the first time, right? But anyway, coming back to this, he wants to take on the Godzilla in our e-hailing space. And Dzof, I think you're kind of intrigued by the strategy they will employ.
Yeah, because last week we talked about AirAsia acquiring Delivery Eats and looking at the food delivery space, and here we have the e-hailing space, right? And the crazy thing is you're about to go out with a company and they're valued. Well, they're unicorn and they're getting more money in from their SPAC issue, and AirAsia has deep pockets, but really. They're still playing catch up, right?
That's wrong. Right now, AirAsia does not have deep pockets, right?
You said this last week, you're right.
Flow has been decimated. They're struggling to keep the airline going. That's why they have to cut so many staff, right? But that's the hallmark of entrepreneur, right? Tony is not feeling sorry for himself. He's going out there and trying to make things happen. And this is just another example of this. But whether he can succeed, right? It's intriguing. And I think there are some differences you compare, right? You said they're going to charge drivers lower fees. They're going to take 15%.
Well, let's just start that. In the sense, it's very similar to the Delivery Eats situation in that they've taken a startup called Daxi, which was established in 2018, I believe.
Yep.
And they may have acquired it. It's hard to find details on.
They're not announcing, but they've done a share swap again, majority share swap. So they have, and actually, I spoke to an entrepreneur who actually met with Tony because Tony wanted to take over their company, right, their startup, and they were discussing valuation. And then the valuation that came back first was fair. But then when Tony's team got involved, you're trying to work the dotted line. They reduced the valuation by 50%, making this entrepreneur very unhappy. And then they were willing to give this entrepreneur about a few million ringgit, Malaysian ringgit, as a cash out also, besides taking over the entrepreneur's company. So, but its majority of it is with shares. So this is the play they're doing, yes. So that wouldn't be any.
Yeah, this is what you said last week as well, right?
Yeah.
That you.
So now I actually spoke to an entrepreneur who sat in front of Tony and worked with the team with AirAsia to work out a deal. They couldn't, but money was on the table for this entrepreneur also.
So the question for this AirAsia, right, is how are they going to catch up, right? And what I feel is interesting. So Soya Chin-Chow did an article which was basically how is AirAsia right different from Grab, right? And Paul Tan also, the famous Paul Tan, also did an article which compared the experience of using AirAsia right and the experience of using Grab. And the thing that stood out to me is that they seem to be very much focused on the drivers more than trying to catch the attention of the customers, right? So for the drivers, they are promising they are going to take lower fees, so the drivers keep a larger share of the fares. There's going to be no penalty if they reject jobs, and passengers can also do this pre-tipping, sort of tip drivers in advance.
Okay.
So, and this is what I think My Taxi did many years ago as well. That when you ordered a ride from them, you could say, and I'm going to give you an extra ringgit if you pick me up, right?
Oh, I don't remember.
So this is the kind of things that AirAsia Ride is pushing out, and the issue is that they have about 1,500 driver partners.
Okay.
And they want to grow this to like 5,000 in the next 6 months, and then eventually going to 30,000, right? So how on earth are they going to get this growth in driver partners, right? And as a comparison, I looked it up. In April of last year, Grab had 100,000 drivers across Malaysia. So and presumably they've lost a lot of drivers since April of last year. But this is the kind of numbers we're talking about when we eventually. So are these kind of deals, these kinds of incentives, the kind of things that will get drivers on board? Clearly, the strategy is the more drivers they are on board, the easier it is for people to get rides.
Yep.
It seems it's going to be interesting. And I think you said this, Karam, that it's going to be hard for AirAsia Ride to compete on discount basis with Grab, right? It's not going to be easy. Whatever discount AirAsia Ride can offer, you're going to assume Grab can offer the same discount.
Easily. So, but competition is good. And Tony is not, hired a professional manager to do this, right? He's got an entrepreneur, Chu Shan from Duxie, and even credit Chu Shan from Duxie, right? In 2018, everyone thought he was crazy to go up against Grab, right? Which had already raised, like over, at that point, it had already raised over $1 billion, and here you are, you want to compete with them. It's incredible what he has done. So now, credit to Tony for having been able to offer the good enough deal to Duxie that, it is now, under AirAsia. So let's see how this goes. Competition is good for the market. So let's see how this goes.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was sad to see when Uber left the market, actually. And I thought things were much more interesting. The next story you want to cover very quickly
important,
is,
next story, very important. Go ahead, Zof.
It's a thing about Malaysia being such a significant player in the supply chain for chips, processors,
packaging, chip packaging. Because without that packaging, right, with the special kind of material, package the chip, those chips cannot go into any of our product, right? You cannot just leave it exposed. Super important.
And chip testing as well, Karam. I mean, Malaysia does a lot of chip testing. And the key point about this work is that it's not the kind of work, it seems, that you can just get a robot or machine to just do it, right? You have to have human beings. And the problem is that because Malaysia is deep in the COVID crisis right now, it means some of these plants have been forced to, if they get a certain number of cases, they have to shut down, right? And this is causing a problem. Or reduced capacity. Or they have to operate at reduced capacity.
Yes, all of them.
So this causes problems down the line, right? And what kind of problems is it causing? I didn't know about it. I read about it, but a company like Ford, for example, have to temporarily suspend production, and they cite specifically a semiconductor related shortage as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic in Malaysia, right? Toyota has to suspend production at 14 plants because of issues. Nissan has issues as well. So what looks to be a problem in one factory in Malaysia has this huge impact down the line.
It's not just one factory. There are multiple factories here. You've got Infineon is here, right? NXP also, right? They're major players. And I think in one of the earnings reports, I think Infineon, they actually said that there were manufacturing bottlenecks in Malaysia and they're going to continue. And the global CEO told this, right? And the impact was going to be in the high double-digit euro. Millions, right? Millions of euros. So it is significant, and it's something we just have to deal with, right? You already got SOPs here. A lot of people complain the SOPs are not consistent. Every country is dealing with this, so but it's just that the impact in Malaysia for the semiconductor, already there's a shortage in just the number of chips being produced, and here where the chips are going through the manufacturing value chain, you've got bottlenecks, in the packaging, in the testing, when those are going through Malaysia. So it's amazing how interrelated all this is.
I mean, it's not a specifically Malaysian issue, but it's an issue which I think a key point is predictability, right? At what point can you in Malaysia say, well, we know by December the situation is going to be like this, and that's the sort of thing that, for example, vaccination would bring. They would give that level of comfort.
So I'll just end with this. So exactly, Wong Siu Hai, who's the president of the Malaysia Semiconductor Industry Association, he spoke to Reuters and he says that they feel that all these bottlenecks will start to ease and things will go back to the new normal or the next normal by the end of the year. Why? Because more factory workers are getting vaccinated. And as the vaccination, the government is easing restrictions on critical sectors also. So, we've almost got 50% of Malaysians being fully vaccinated, right, which is amazing. So while we are in our worst wave of COVID ever, but we are already well advanced with getting vaccinated. Can you imagine if our vaccinations were lagging behind and we are hit by this worst wave? So it's kind of, people are puzzled. Hey, we've almost got like 45% of the population fully vaccinated. And yet, we've got a record number of cases, like in Malaysia's case, like 25,000 a day, right? So it's kind of scary, but we're doing at least where we can mitigate it. We're doing our part, and eventually it'll just work itself out, right? So anyway, we're only past the 20-minute mark. Okay, Dzof, the last thoughts for you.
Well, I was just going to say, this COVID thing is a moving target, unfortunately, and there's much more to say about it in the future. But I think for now, I think we have faith that some of the things we're doing seem to at least be well organized, and I hope that will then success will breed success.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, look, with that, we come to the end of another show, Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. All of you, we hope you enjoy the commentaries and opinions we're putting forth. Do share your comments in our YouTube channel, and do share if you feel like sharing, and we'll see you again next week.